Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, Indiana football began its 2025 season last Saturday. We have the highlights from the game.
And men's soccer faced off against number 15 St. Louis in the Hoosiers' third top 15 matchup of the season. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Graham Nash.
And I'm Maura White. Graham, what did you do this summer?
I called some baseball, did some things here and there, but not all that interesting. What about you?
Oh, I went skydiving.
Skydiving, really? Well, hey, you're not the only one skydiving into Bloomington this weekend. Indiana football welcomed Old Dominion to Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium last Saturday to begin its 2025 season. And for the first time in Hoosier Sports Night history, we're bringing you the highlights from the game. We mentioned Moore wasn't the only one skydiving this summer. That's because Hoosier the Bison made his return for the first time since the 1960s. Pumped a lot of juice into the rock, but then Colton Joseph sucked all the life out of the rock with a 75-yard touchdown run on the first play of the game. Joseph accounted for nearly 50% of the ODU offensive production with just his legs in this ball game. Mid-first quarter, this was the Hoosiers' first offensive drive, and Kalon Black found some space down the near sideline. Black just stopped shy, and the Hoosiers had this chance. 4th and goal, knocked away. IU backs stopped for no gain or worse on 8 rushing attempts, 5 of them at the 1-yard line. The first chance Indiana really got to score was on this punt return. Jonathan Brady says, "I don't let this, oh no, thank you very much. Take it around some blockers, take this hush puppy all the way to the house." Game tied at 7. This is the longest Indiana punt return touchdown since 2004. Go to work, young man. Colton Joseph needed to take the life back out of Merchants Bank Field at Memorial Stadium. Couldn't do that here. Tip interception into the hands of Lewis Moore. He would bring it all the way down to the 10-yard marker. This was one of 3 interceptions that the Indiana Hoosiers had off of Colton Joseph, but they couldn't capitalize every single time. This time, Indiana did. Fernando Mendoza rushes it in for his first touchdown with the Cream and Crimson. Indiana would go on to win this football game 27-14. The Hoosiers are going to be back in action this Saturday, hosting Kennesaw State at noon on FS1.
Indiana women's soccer team finished up their road trip over the weekend when they took on the Bellarmine Knights. After picking up 2 home wins at the start of the year, the new-look Hoosiers dropped games at St. Louis and at Bellarmine as they fell 2-1 on Sunday. After falling behind to a breakaway goal, the Hoosiers were able to equalize in the 38th minute, thanks to a rebound goal by senior defender Abby Iller, the Zionsville native's first goal for the Cream and Crimson. The Hoosiers would ultimately succumb to the counterattack as they would concede a goal in the 82nd minute. Bellarmine held on to win 2-1. The Hoosiers will look to respond after back-to-back losses as they welcome the Xavier Musketeers to the Bill Armstrong Stadium tonight at 8 p.m.
Your Indiana men's and women's cross-country team kicked off the start of their season with a sweep at the Sam Bell Invitational this past Friday. Redshirt junior Garrett Hicks finished 7th with a personal best of 18:38. Redshirt freshman Caden Click ran his personal best with a time of 18:43 and finished 9th. The Hoosiers won the women's race, finishing runners in all top 7 spots. Redshirt senior Claire Overfelt led the pack. Lily Myers, Josephina Rastorelli, and Caitlin Winton followed closely behind, all with personal bests. Indiana will travel next to the Spartan Invite on September 12th in East Lansing in Michigan.
Indiana volleyball was away this weekend in Coral Gables, Florida for the Canes Classic. The Hoosiers had a rough start to their weekend, losing the first 2 sets in their match against the Miami Hurricanes on Friday. However, in a dramatic reverse sweep, the Hoosiers came back and won the next 3 sets, giving them the victory over the Hurricanes. The Hoosiers were led by senior outside hitter Candela Alonso Corceles, who contributed 20 of Indiana's 54 total kills. Indiana's success continued into Saturday in their match against the VCU Rams. The Hoosiers swept the match in 3 sets with 38 total kills, putting them at 2-0 on the season. Next up for the Hoosiers, they will host the SEMO Redhawks at home for the Indiana Invitational.
Coming up after the break, we crown this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And men's soccer takes on another top 15 matchup. Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight is IUSTV sports reporter Joe Elms. Joe?
Thank you, guys. This week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week is men's soccer senior forward Palmer Alt. Alt was dominant throughout Indiana's 2 games this week, helping the Hoosiers improve to 3-0-1 on the 2025 season. Alt scored a goal in the 57th minute that would prove to be the game winner in Indiana's 2-1 win over Green Bay on Thursday. He followed up his 1-goal, 1-assist performance with a brace in the Hoosiers' victory over number 14 Oregon State on Sunday as he finished with 3 shots and 2 goals in the 17th and 54th minutes, respectively. Alt has racked up 4 goals, 1 assist, and 9 total points through the first 4 games of the season, and he has been a key contributor in the Hoosiers' fast start to this young season. That's all for this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week. Back to you guys at the desk.
Palmer Alt and men's soccer took down its 3rd top 15 opponent in its first 5 matches this Wednesday. With the win over 15th-ranked St. Louis, the Hoosiers moved to 4-0-1 on the season. Our Grace Lesher has more.
It was another great night for soccer here at Bill Armstrong Stadium as number 3 Indiana took on number 15 St. Louis. From the start, both teams played with speed and intensity, but it was the Hoosiers who were able to get on the board first as Colin Zaduro scored his first goal of the season in the 7th minute of the match. For the rest of the game, Zaduro remained a dominant force for Indiana's offense alongside the rest of their midfield.
It's a tough team to get chances because when they get in that deep block, they keep the lines really tight. They have a really good double. They have a lot of they're physical, so every challenge is just hard to get free, honestly. But Collins did a good job of creating a couple chances for us tonight.
The Hoosier defense was also a huge factor in their win over St. Louis. Josh Mayer returned to the back line for Indiana, his first game since an injury against Clemson in their season opener, and proved to be an important piece of Indiana's lineup. Ultimately, goalkeeper Holden Brown was the X factor, making multiple big saves to prevent the Billikens from scoring. After being named Big Ten Goalie of the Week last week, he has been able to carry on this success with 2 consecutive shutouts against top 15 teams.
It's just like so much going on. You just try to find the ball. That's just what, and once you find it, you try to get on it. But we had 2 of those that were right on the line. And just thank you to my defenders. They put their bodies on the line just like we do as goalies, and they kept the ball out, thanks to them.
Zaduro's goal in the first half would be the lone point for the Hoosiers with a final score of 1-0. The win against St. Louis marks a 5-game homestand for Indiana. They will travel to South Bend to take on Notre Dame on Sunday. For IUSTV, I am Grace Lesher.
The Hoosiers are back in action next Sunday, traveling for the first time this season to take on Notre Dame. The match is set to start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on the ACC network.
IU field hockey took on Boston College and the University of Maine this past weekend in Orono, Maine. They ended the weekend with a 1-1 record. Indiana started off at Boston College on Saturday afternoon. Boston took an early lead, scoring 1 in the first. Indiana tied things up in the third. However, Boston College took the game 2-1 with a go-ahead goal in the fourth. On Monday, Indiana played the University of Maine. Although Maine took an early 2-1 lead in the first, Indiana put up a goal in the second and 2 in the fourth to win the game 4-3. Freshman Celia Arroyo Cabezzuto played strong, scoring 2 of the 4 goals for Indiana, both her first collegiate goals of her career. Up next is Indiana's home opener against Drexel today at 3 p.m. at Deborah Tobias Field. The game can be streamed on Big Ten Plus.
The IU women's golf team opened their season at the Boilermaker Invitational in West Lafayette. The Hoosiers took 2nd place as a team, shooting the 7th lowest score in team history at 1 under par for the tournament. Despite a remarkable finish, it was an up-and-down tournament for the team. Huge contributions came from Madison DeBaggia, who helped lead the way for Indiana with a 5 under par final round, capturing the individual title. Maddie May and Katie Poots also had solid showings as they both tied for 9th place. Strong round 3 performances from every Hoosier helped IU come within reach of the victory. But their efforts fell just short as the Hoosiers lost by 1 stroke to the Ole Miss Rebels. The Hoosiers will look for some more consistency as a team when they head to Ann Arbor this Sunday for the Wolverine Invitational.
Joining us in studio for this week's Candy Stripe Calendar is IUSTV sports reporter Grace Jeffer. Grace?
Thanks, guys. It's a great time to be back in Bloomington, an even better time to catch the Hoosiers in action. To start the busy weekend, men's golf will travel to Durham, North Carolina to compete in the Rod Myers Invitational hosted by Duke. Wilkinson Hall will be action-packed on Friday. Volleyball will face Northern Kentucky at 10 a.m. and Western Michigan at 7 p.m. On Saturday, football looks to build off their opening game win as they host Kennesaw State for a noon kickoff. Be there not just to see some high-energy football, but also to see what Hoosier the Bison will do next, although skydiving out of a plane will be pretty hard to top. On Sunday, to round out the weekend, women's golf travels to Ann Arbor for the Wolverine Invitational. In Bloomington at Deborah Tobias Field, field hockey will square up against the Louisville Cardinals at noon. Switching over to soccer, Ohio University hits the road to Bloomington as women's soccer welcomes them to Bill Armstrong Stadium at 1. Men's soccer packs up for South Bend to lay it out at Alumni Stadium against Notre Dame. Both the Hoosiers and the Fighting Irish will be competing and coming in hot as they try to respond to last season's tie game. That's all for this week's Candy Stripe calendar. Back to you at the desk.
And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in IU athletics. For our production crew behind us, I'm Graham Nash.
And I'm Maura White. We'll see you next week.